Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, what's going on, Joseph?
Oh, cool. I can hear you now. Okay, cool. Awesome.
No problem.
So
How's
how's it going?
how are things in Texas?
Well, I have the guts to be in my garage right now. It's probably like 90.
Oh my God, tell me about heat. Yeah, tell me about the heat. I live in Ontario in Canada, so like we get like all year round weather, but
Sure.
summers are not normally like 41 Celsius every day. So
Okay.
what's
What's that in degrees? I'm gonna put myself out there and say I'm not a scientist.
neither am I. So that makes two of us.
Cool, man. Let me. Okay. Trying to put this thing a little bit higher. All right.
Well,
Trying to get a better glimpse of myself. Okay. Yeah, I know it's wild down here because it can get really cold and it can freeze, and then your pipes will burst, and then you'll spend thousands of dollars on irrigation systems. So it's pretty wild.
yeah, like I was saying, like we don't normally get like 41 Celsius kind of weather here during the summer, right? Yeah, like it wouldn't be normal to get warm weather, obviously, but
Yeah.
like our summer here is usually our hot days can be in the 90s, um, but typically it's about 85 to 90 is the usual. So for us to get like 100-degree weather like for 2 weeks is not very common. So for a lot of people who, I mean, with the gyms kind of closed at the moment, it definitely is a lot harder to work out, especially outside, like going for runs and stuff.
Yeah.
Doing pretty much anything. We're not used to the heat, so to go for a run, it's so hard on your lungs, um,
Yeah.
and we're just not adapted to it. So right now, it's been really difficult doing cardio and like basically half-assed and everything. Um, and then just being in the heat in general is just totally, just exhaust the hell out of you. So, um,
Yeah. It's a burden because out here you'll go for a shower and then you'll go out for the night. Before all this, you go out for the night and then you'd be sweating again. You feel like you have to shower after you got in your car. That's how hot it is. But yeah, people here are adapted to it. So I mean, you'll see people running in the middle of the day where it's blazing hot, shirts, no shirts on, and they just kind of, I guess, adapt to it. Those are the extremists, I would say.
mhm.
But yeah, with this whole COVID bit, seen a lot of people get creative. I remember maybe like the first 2 weeks we were quarantined in Texas, and I didn't realize how many neighbors I had. That's how many people were on the streets just walking. There was nothing to do. So
Yeah, yeah, no, I can totally understand that. Yeah, like I think the first 2 or 3 weeks, I live over by like a creek, and
okay.
and it's just you have this creek here, like this is where I live, and then you got the creek, you got a high school, and the
Mm-hmm.
creek here, it's like you have all these little like kind of like suburban houses and all these like streets all around it, and it's crazy. I've never seen so many people outside with family and going for walks and stuff. It's like, wow, where is everybody these days? Like,
Yeah.
this goes to show how much like how much good is coming out of this COVID because you're seeing families reunite. You're seeing people, like, you're seeing kids getting off their ass and going out and getting exercise and riding their
Yeah.
bikes and seeing families spend time together, going for walks and stuff like that. So it's quite nice to see that. But I can't say for the same for people that I know from the gym. Like there's like a portion of people who just got totally lazy and just put on a bunch
Yeah.
of weight and haven't really done anything. And these are like people I would never have thought would be like that. And then you have the people that are just dedicated who either lucked out and they had a home gym and they're living life like no tomorrow. And then you got people like me who are trying to do that, but they just it's really difficult because I only have limited access. So like my squat strength is gone, my deadlift strength is gone, like to an extent, right? So that stuff kind of sucks. How are
Y'all,
you adapting with everything?
y'all are still locked down or not allowed to go to the gym, I guess.
Hmm.
Yeah, we opened up May 18th, and the cases in our counties were at about like 80 to 100 a day, but now they've grown to 1,000 plus.
Yeah.
So the bars in our area are closed. So bartenders only got to work for maybe a month. And then restaurants are now losing capacity, so they're not getting much business. So now there's some restaurants and bars that are trying to put a lawsuit against Texas to get the gyms closed because they feel like, why are we being closed if a non-essential business like them can stay open, unfortunately. So that's kind of a scary deal for some of the people in the fitness industry or people who are just enthusiasts like yourself if you were living here, potentially losing access again, like having a chance to go at it and then losing access again.
Yeah, no, and honestly, like I don't understand why. Like your fitness and your health is more of a necessity and essential than a bar, which I get it. Like people have to make their money. If you have business in a bar or a restaurant, whatever, I get it. You know, you're owning the business. You've got to make your money, and especially in the States. I don't know how much the government helps you out with in terms of money, but in Canada, we're very much a socialist country. So, you know, like when everything shit happened, people couldn't work. The government was giving people like $1,000 every month, and which kind of helped people for sure. Business wise, I don't know, but yeah, especially for people that had the locally owned businesses, they were really, really suffering. Like where I live right now, so I live in Chatham, Ontario, which is like 40 minutes away from Windsor, which is like on that border with Detroit.
Okay.
So yeah, I live quite close to the States, and like where I live, we have like 0 cases, like in Chatham. Ontario, wow. Yeah, it's kind of bad, but I don't want to like compare to the States. I don't want to like hurt anybody's feelings. I don't want to shit on you guys or anything, but yeah, like definitely not like the States. Like Canada, everything's pretty controlled right now. Whereas I don't know how far that's going to go. Personally, I think it's a mistake that they're waiting so long to open up the gyms. I mean, they've opened up hair salons, pretty much almost anything. Even restaurants to an extent, like you have to eat outside and whatnot. But like they're waiting so freaking long to open up the gyms, and it's like, okay, I get what they're doing, but if you can go get your hair cut and be close to a person getting your hair cut, why can't you go to the gym now? Like what is it they're waiting for so long? Because I don't want it to be something where they wait too long, where everything else is opened up, and then what's to say that I only can work out for a month, and then they say, oh, sorry, all the cases are all up, we have to close the gyms again. It's like, well, thanks for waiting so fucking long to, excuse me, waiting so goddamn long to open up the gym. Now everything's closed down. So I don't know if that was the best move. I understand, with a gym, it's more populated, but what's to say Walmart isn't,
Right.
Going to Walmart, you're just as populated, and I don't know. I don't really get it, but definitely I'm looking forward to getting back in the gym and definitely looking to get my lifts in, and that's kind of what we're talking about is powerlifting and talking about what you do, man.
Yeah. So one of the hardest things for me, I started this website. I started the website about a year ago. I've been doing fitness and sports and stuff for a long time. I started as a personal trainer when I was 19. I'm 30 now. So at 19, I was a personal trainer. And then I moved to get my graduate degree from South Texas. And then I worked at a private facility that did kids sports, youth sports, teen sports, and then like adult stuff. And then I started doing a curriculum they call Velocity Sports, where it's speed acquisition. So learning how to be faster. I tried to work more of the weightlifting aspect of it too. So it wasn't just being fast, but being strong too. So kind of adding both ends to it. And then I moved to North Texas. I had interned at a university for strength conditioning. And then I worked as a high school football powerlifting coach for 5 years, and or 4 years, 5 years. I don't know why I'm getting tongue-tied on that one, but I mean, yeah, it's just always been sports, and then I volunteered a lot of the strength and conditioning stuff. So it's a big passion of mine, and then to move it into more of a private avenue like I have with the website, it just helps me reach out to more people. because I can only have so much influence on the local community. But then I had just learned Instagram, no joke, like a year ago. I had no idea.
That's okay.
My wife would, yeah, she'd sit there because she does photography. She'd sit there and I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, oh, I'm on Instagram. And I'm like, well, what's the point? She's like, well, you can promote your business. And I was like, kind of seems silly, everybody with their filters. And then I learned it, and now I'm like at 3,100 followers, and I'm pushing a website, and now I'm getting to meet a lot of people. I've met people from Canada, South Korea, all over the U.S., Australia. It's been really cool. And my biggest thing about my business is I'm pretty transparent. I'm not sitting here saying, hey, I have this private 4-week program for $19.99 that's going to get you yoked like, you know, the biggest Greek gods in the world. It's not really that. My biggest thing is I meet people, I ask them about their programming, and then I tell them about what I do. And the biggest thing that I do is I try to promote correct movement. So like, let's say I worked with you and I said, hey, if you know, I can kind of look at your movements, kind of tell you what you're lacking, what you can improve on. And I'll have you send your squat, bench, deadlift, and overhead press videos. And then I'll kind of give you some feedback saying, hey, the reason why you bow with the bar on a squat is because your hips aren't strong enough. You're extending at the knees, but then that's going to cause your hips to rise. So we need to really work on things that would be good for hip extension. And then I would give a list of movements. So it's like almost as if I'm trying to provide them with a movement analysis as formal as possible. And then to let them know, hey, this is what I do. It's, you know, it's clear cut. It's, you know, nothing exciting. It's just genuine programming to make you a better lifter. And then once you corrected the movements, obviously you're going to get stronger. And then we work for a 12 to 16 week period to gain maxes and increase strength and then go from there. So, you know, it's just been fun doing it at this capacity, getting to meet more people. So
that's cool, man. So what made you decide to get into that stuff?
Yeah, so I was doing it with teams. I was doing it in person a lot. What made me want to do it more remote was I just researched it. I was at the end of one part of a season for sports at the high school level, and I was like, I just really wonder what it would be to try to push this privately, to reach people who are going to pay for a service, and knowing that they're paying for the service, they're going to, you know, be genuinely interested. Because when you work with some athletes, whether they're college, youth, sometimes they're not really into weights. And I think if anybody's listening to this and they're a coach at that level, I'm sure they can, you know, agree 100%. That's kind of the hardest thing to do, is to influence some of these athletes to, you know, put the football aside and really learn how to power clean better, because they don't even know how that translates over. Some of them do, but not most. But I just thought, hey, if I was to do this privately, you know, maybe I can get more people who are interested because they're paying for it. And then I researched it, found that the remote thing was kind of a big deal. So then I said, you know what, I'm just going to give it a shot. Started Instagram, started a website. And then as time went on, every time somebody would follow me, you know, like we interacted once, I kind of said, hey, this is me, this is what I do. And I just try to talk to people and learn from them. And they told me, you know, hey, reach out to everybody, post daily. And then I saw so much financial gain and benefit from it to where it really supported me and my family. And now it went from kind of a side hustle, I guess, if I was going to be honest, a side hustle to a big passion. So now it's just a really big part of not just myself, but my family too. So it just kind of became a side project to kind of grow professionally, privately, to now becoming a bigger thing for me. And I'm trying to obviously reach out to people like yourself and to have more exposure to see if I can get this thing growing more and more and more.
Yeah, 100%. Now you kind of talked to me how you, what made you start to do this, what you do. So obviously, you know, you're into the whole powerlifting thing. So what would you say is the most, what would be the most important lift out of all three?
Oh man, that's so tough.
You could say all three are all important, which they are, but
yeah,
like, what would you say is going to benefit you the most?
Oh man, I would say just personally, and if people gave me feedback or gave me hell for it, I don't really care. I think the deadlift. I think the deadlift is so gnarly because they're all so different. It's your question kind of makes me think of something like, what do you think's the best band? And you're telling me a metal band, a pop band, and a rap band, and I'm like, oh man, they're all great, but they're all in different categories. You know what I'm saying? Like the squat, bench, deadlifts are all in different categories. But if I could put that aside, that they're all different categories, it's hard to put one into play. I would say deadlift because the squat and bench, if you break it down from the physiological aspect of it, you get the stretch reflex, you get that elastic energy being built from the squat, the descending motion with your hips, gaining all that energy to release towards the extending motion, just like the bench. The deadlift is just how it sounds. It's a deadlift. And I think taking a motionless bar and overcoming Newton's third law, where you're having to, apply force against the motionless object, I think that's insane. And especially insane to see how some of these guys, like the strongmen, straps or no straps, they're doing all these events, and then they come to deadlift and they're still deadlifting half a ton, like 1,000 plus. I think it's the king of all lifts. It requires, a tough feat to pull a dead bar, and then you're using so many muscle groups. It's just, the list can go on it. So that's the one I would say.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I probably would have to go with deadlift as well. I mean, there's no secret that it's it's a full body movement. I mean, which squats are in a way, right? I mean, yeah, like they are, and I mean, bench press is more, obviously you're isolating your pecs, well, and then obviously your triceps do come into play with that if you get the correct movement. But with like I would have to say deadlifts as well. I find with deadlifts, I find it's one of those things where even like obviously I feel it more in my lower back, but overall I over time I feel like it helps, and it comes into play with my like lats and it comes into play with my delts as well, and it just, I feel like it helps overall everything, even my legs in a weird way, like especially when coming down. I find like when you're dropping the weight, I don't know, and I find like there's so many different variations of the deadlift too. Like, I mean, if you're doing a sumo, I mean, you're gonna be working your inner thighs. So it definitely does. I find it's more beneficial to everything. But of course, I mean, if you're going for the overall goal, you want to look a certain way, or you want to be strong all over. Yeah, you got to do all three lifts.
Right.
And I guess that kind of brings me to my next question. I asked another guy, he was a power lifter, and I asked him, do you think it's better for you just to do powerlifting, or is it beneficial to incorporate that with a standard workout?
I think powerlifting, I think if you just powerlift, it's, man, that's a tough one. I think you got to do more. But I think it also comes into different seasons. So I have a few guys who compete, and they're pretty good. I mean, I haven't had big names or anything like that. It's you see someone like myself, little following, little not too much of a history. It's probably natural for that to be the case. But I have some guys, and when we finish a cycle of 12 to 16 weeks, I tell them, all right, we're starting fresh, and I almost promote like a bodybuilding or a power building or some kind of highly intense volume / muscle building, tension building program, where it's like, hey, we're putting all that stuff aside. We're putting away the bands. We're putting away the chains. We're putting away the heavy loads. We're just starting all over. I don't think it's just enough to be a powerlifter. I think you got to really, invest some time into some other things as well to grow, because you need a stronger frame to carry those heavier loads later, especially if you want to be, if you're kind of peaking at your strength you need to really reestablish your musculature for some heavier lifting in the future.
Yeah, well, and the reason why I was asking is because I typically find there's a lot of guys that go to my gym that do a lot of powerlifting, and whether they just do powerlifting or like they compete or whatever,
Right.
I find that they're not in very good shape. And I'm not saying
It's true.
I'm not saying that they're not in good shape, but just more like they're not. When you think of power, you would think like, oh, big tough gut, oh, like all muscle. But like some of these guys are like just got huge gut, and they're not like they don't look like a typical the person that you would think that would be doing. But at the end of the day, it's not about to get your body chiseled. I mean, that's bodybuilding. It's more all about power. So I guess does being in top shape do help with the powerlifting, or is it just strictly about power?
I'm gonna say it being in shape helps, and I'm gonna say it this way, like the shortest way possible. I don't want to go too crazy tangents to take away from the things you're trying to talk about, but essentially, when I promote programming, let's say we're at the 5th week. Okay, we're going for 12 weeks. We're at the 5th week. Let's say we started with triples the first month, doubles the second month, and then singles the last month. If we're at the 5th week, we're doing doubles. I'll have them do, hey, we're going for your heaviest set of 2 on deadlift. But then after that, we're going to go for an inch deficit deadlifts, 12 sets of 3 reps with 60-second breaks. And I've worked that in the past. And the client sometimes, I wonder what the client's thinking, because I wonder if they're rolling their eyes like, I'm seriously paying for you to watch me do 12 sets. But what I'm doing every set is I'm trying to, talk to them a little bit, coach them up, but more importantly, get them in shape and get them conditioned, because I think one of the most undermined aspects of exercise or programming or strength training, I think the biggest underrated part of it is rest rates, because you kind of brought it up. You see the powerlifters that kind of have the big guts. Those are probably the guys who are sitting around doing a set every 10 minutes where they're like, dude, I need 10 minutes to recover so I can go back into it. I'd promote with my guys short rest breaks because I want them to be in shape, and scientifically we're creating a very highly metabolic scenario for their body to be under, and they're going to see a lot more growth and development from that versus just taking 2 to 3 minute breaks in between. And I mean, when I'm working dudes, we're going through a workout maybe 45 minutes tops, and then they're coming out stronger from it. And then when you're in a powerlifting meet, sometimes there's no telling what's going to happen to you, because you might be in a flight with 10 people, 20 people, 30 people, and then you'll see some dudes where they do a max attempt, and then they tell them later, hey, you're up on deck, and they're like, oh, I'm not even ready. My body's not ready. I just think being in shape, lifting-wise, like lifting shape versus like cardio shape, I think it's a really big deal.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Like it's no different than anything else. You have to be prepared to for what to come. Like, I mean, you can be the strongest guy in the world. Say you do a single at this amount of weight, and great, you got it. But then your body has to be ready in that motion that, okay, well, at any given moment, you can be called and be like, yeah, now you're doing like 5 sets of, triples or whatever. And you're like, okay, well, are you prepared to go for right from that? And then 2 minutes later, go right to that. Like it's no different than anything else, any other sport. Your body has to be conditioned to get to that part. So I get what you're trying to say. Yeah, I guess, have you ever had any injuries from this?
I am proud to say I've been lifting for about 16 years. I competed at the high school. I competed after high school in like an open, just like, USPA and stuff like that, IPF. I never got injured. I never. What
you got?
I got injured in football. I tore my MCL in football. Dude threw their helmet in my knee. Yeah, I played center, and we ran a fast-paced offense. So I'd have to snap the ball, run down the field, and the dude try to chop me up. And yeah, that was a bad time. But no, I never got injured, and I really think that came back to the amount of intrigue I had with programming. I mean, if I looked at programming that I wrote when I was 19, I'd probably lose my mind. Like, what was I thinking? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I really took care of myself in the sense of, hey, if I'm pressing 3 sets of 10, I need to pull 3 sets of 10. I need to work my anterior, like my front and back as much as possible to have symmetry, strength-wise as well. Because, yeah, I've seen some dudes, man. I've seen some dudes pump biceps, next day go in there and try to deadlift, and then they tear their bicep. It's just goofy antics, bro lifting. And it's just kind of it's a scary deal.
Yeah. So. Yeah, no, I've been fortunate enough not to really have any injuries. I only had one once. I was doing deadlifts, and I was doing a little bit more than I normally could, and I lost my form. So when I came up, I was pulling up, and as I pulled, I was kind of pulling, like I wasn't pulling up. I was just pulling like forward and then up. And as I pulled, I went up to the top, and then I thought something felt not right in my back, and then I let it drop, and then I felt, and then I felt a pull in my tailbone, and it was just a really big sharp pain. I had shooting pains going down my legs, and this guy was watching me, and he comes over and he gives me that look like, oh, I know what just fucking happened. He comes over, he's like, you didn't have that form right, did you? And I'm like, no, and I couldn't get up, and so I went to my chiropractor, and he goes up, he's like, well, I gotta tell you, yeah, you pulled a vertebrae out of your tailbone. I'm like, oh,
okay, wow, good Lord.
So he put it back in place, which actually didn't really hurt that bad. Okay. He says it's not. He's like, it's not the biggest deal in the world. He's like, you just have to get put back in place. He's like, but that's why you had the shooting pains. He's like, because he's like, when your tailbone when the vertebrae gets pulled out of place in your tailbone, it punches against the nerves, and that's why you got the shooting pain in your legs. And I'm like, well, okay, that makes sense. And ever since then, I'm always careful when I lift. It's like if I know it's too big of a if I know it's gonna be a lot of weight, either I do a single or I have someone kind of spot me and just kind of watch my form and make sure I'm careful, because I don't want to go through that again. And then I think I went through something similar last summer, and I was at a different gym, and I was squatting, and same thing. I was getting like cocky with my lifts, and I just did a little bit more weight, and I think I just didn't. I just did something wrong. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was when I went down and I pushed back up and I felt it. And I went to my chiropractor, and he's like, well, you didn't do anything this time. Your tailbone's irritated. I'm like, okay. He's like, but yeah, you need to be careful, man. He's like, are you wearing a belt? I'm like, on that one I wasn't. He's like, well, start wearing a belt, dude. And he's like, I'm telling you. He's like, you're young, but he's like, that shit's going to haunt you in 10 years. So
100%. The belt. Yeah, the belt. I always thought, I was like, it helps, but I never understood. But it's all that internal pressure to where it keeps your spine erect in that specific tender spot. But yeah, definitely. I'm thankful I haven't had to experience anything.
Yeah. So again, so I'm not sure if you explained what the strongman was.
Strongman. Oh, like the stuff I do?
Yes.
Yeah, so a lot of the stuff, I work with a couple strongmen, and, I'm not shy to tell them. I'm like, look, hey, I've dabbled in it, but by no means was I Texas strongest man by any means. But I can tell them for sure, I'll tell them, you got a meet coming up, and I'm like, what kind of movements are you going to do? And, one guy told me, he was like, I'm doing the wagon wheel deadlift. He's doing the farmer to yoke. He was doing, what was another one? He did the sandbag load and then the stones. And then what we did was I just broke down everything for him. I said, hey, let's watch your squat, bench, deadlift, and overhead. And I did the same thing for them. I said, hey, look, pressing overhead, your feet cave in because you have no dependency on your hips. So we got to really load your hips and kind of help you out with stuff like that. And what I would do is I would say, okay, we got to work on your hips, but you also got to be very good at stones, loading, etc. So it's like, I'll give you an example. Guys who squat who have that really bad bowing motion where their hips rise first, I'll tell them, good mornings is a great one. That's very specific to the squat. But this guy I'm working with, he had an issue with his hips, but he has to load weight. So then what I had him do was Zercher RDLs. So the weight's not on his back. Now it's loaded in his arms. And because I changed the bar placement, now we're talking about, more leverage being on the front end. So that exercise carries over to his stone loading. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to be very specific and strategic with how I'm promoting exercise selection to where they get the benefit they need. But then I tell them as well, like, hey, you need to work on your events, if you have someone that can mentor you through them. But I can get you to be a better lifter in regards to X, Y, and Z. But then I have them have more dependency on the strongman stuff specifically with possibly someone else, or maybe they're just using me as a resource for strength training.
Okay. All right.
Kind of like sports performance too. I work with a couple people who sprint, and I know that, I'm not a sprinter, but I know what sprinters need. Running off the blocks, they got to have a lot of, explosiveness from that quarter squat position. So then I promote deadlifts, I promote rack cleans, I promote, a bunch of different stuff. So I'm not their track coach, but I make the program so specific based on exercise selection that they benefit from that the most. So that's what helps it become different from every person. So some people say like, hey, I just don't want you to be a copy and paste guy. And I'm like, not really. I make a calendar for you. I try to plan out everything. So then when we start programming, it's not as much thinking. It's just more adapting, whether it's an injury or whether it's, hey, we're still struggling with this, we'll just shift some stuff around. I really try to take as much time to strategize as possible, not just create some strength program for, $9.99 a month. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm not a sellout like the guys.
Okay. Yeah, so it's more like you're just like a coach to someone's needs for whatever they're doing, I guess.
Yeah, I'm a resource. So when people go to my website, Harvesting Strength, Harvesting Speed, I'm helping people with speed. I'm helping them with strength, but it goes alongside with whatever else they're doing. You know what I mean? And then I try to work with other people to outsource me as their premier strength person, to where if they have a strength or they have like a sprinter or a volleyball player, they'll say, hey, come to this guy for weightlifting, and then we can benefit off of our relationship that way.
Definitely.
I had one thought. A guy put it really good to me one time. I was working with him, and I was telling him, hey, we're going to do lat raises, 3 sets of 10. And then whenever we were going through it, I said, hey, you kind of have this weird movement to where you shift your grip on one side. Had you had an injury before? And we talked through it. He was a baseball player before, and he said, you're a good coach because you're not just telling me what to do, you're actually critiquing me. And I think that's what separates the coaching aspect from the programming aspect. Mm-hmm. I try to really give good feedback and critique to, allow them to grow with knowledge as well. So they're not just getting workouts, they're actually getting some knowledge to where they can depend on themselves later.
Right. Okay. So like for when you're training people, do you have like a special gym that you work at? Like, is there a gym designed just for what you do?
Yeah, no. So what I do is a lot of it's going to be the online stuff. So where people send me their stuff. So they might be working in LA. They might be working out at like a garage gym. They might be working out at home. I do some stuff in person at an Anytime Fitness near me. It's pretty late. They actually have quite a bit of strongman accessories there. So it's really cool to kind of get a little bit more in-depth with people there. I've been dabbling with the idea of trying to open something in the future, but then when COVID hit, I was like, well, I'll put that on the back burner. But I was thinking about trying to find a suite and some like industrial suite to where I could just have it privately for myself, buy equipment so I can benefit off of it, and then start getting private lessons in there. So
yeah, that's kind of like what a lot of like where I live, that's kind of like what a lot of fitness coaches do. Like, you don't typically actually see them have their own gym and then they have the members. No, it's like a lot of them will just it'll all be online. They'll tell the person what to do.
Yeah.
It's nutrition. Like, so my coach actually, like, I have a fitness coach, and he was just doing diet basically with me.
Sure.
And then it would be like, he would keep track of my strength. So like he would do like, so we have like a chart. It would say, what's your strength for like deadlifts, bench, squat, um, and I think, um, oh, what was the other one? I forget. And then it would be like, you tell me this is your meal plan this week, and then we'll see if we have to make adjustments, for example. So he wouldn't necessarily be in the gym with me. Like, I mean, we were going to the same gym from time to time. Well, actually, no, he goes to both gyms the one I used to go to and the one I go to now. So yeah, I'll typically see him from time to time. I'll say hey, and we'll chit chat, and then like he'll just do his own workout. So we usually just chat online. Yeah, so that's kind of what he does. But he also does like the actual training part. So I can't remember if he told me he actually goes and works out with the person, but I know for sure that he'll send the person their diet, and then he'll also send them like, so for example, if he has someone doing a show like a bodybuilding show, like he'll have like he'll say, okay, like, there was actually one guy that I know, that was planning on doing a show. I don't know if he still is, but he had him in the early stages. So he said, okay, so and so, I want you to, here's your diet, and for your training, it's like, I really want you to focus on doing this much workout on this kind of diet, for example. Like, this is what I want you to eat, and the training I want you to do for this week, this is what I want you to do to improve. And then you send me the stats, and then you send me like a measurement of your muscle. Tell me the strength that the biggest, the highest strength that you've had. So whether you're benching 200, 300, you're, whatever. So I find that's a very popular thing because, yeah, I mean, as you told me, you got clients in different cities and towns, so that's kind of good for you.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the future of coaching. And I guess I was just kind of talking about diets. Is there a certain diet that you are on, or that you were previously on?
No, it's just eating enough greens and enough of everything. Just trying to balance it out, really.
There's
There's more
just
real.
not a balance right now, right?
Yeah. Just try to be realistic to myself and what I have available to me with being a family man. Kind of gets crazy.
Of course, right? I mean, like, you got to do what you got to do, but
Yeah.
I can't really say the same for myself. Like when everything, before everything kind of hit, I was like, this is what I ate for the week, and then cheat meal Saturday, whatever day I could pick. Me being like a social worker, I don't always get to pick my days off. So at the time it was kind of like, I just send me what I was very strict. What I was basically, the training I'm going for right now is building muscle but losing fat at the same time, which is so difficult. It's easier said than done, I think.
Oh.
And so that was kind of my deal, which it still is. I mean, I think I could add a little bit more muscle on. I probably lost a little bit just with my workouts not being as much and not getting my lifts in, and so I think like I think I'm getting back to training with him soon. So I'm really I'm excited. And I mean, the diet part, I mean, I've been following kind of the diet, that the last phase of the diet that he had me on. But whether I've kind of stuck with it all the time, 100%, is probably another story. And I think that's the same with everybody else. He's like,
tough, man. I go for the 80-20. 80% of the time I'm pretty good. 20% of the time I'm a little bit of a.
At 20% though, you gotta enjoy yourself. I mean, life is short. You gotta just,
Sure. 100%, man. You got to. I believe it 100%.
But the great thing is, if you learn how to implement that into your diet, it's not a terrible thing. Like, I remember, so he had me, my first diet phase, it was, after the workout, I think it was a shake, a scoop and a half protein, and then water, and then like I think 100 grams of blueberries, and then with that it would be It'd be like 45 grams of kids cereal with almond milk, and I was like, "Fuck yeah, okay."
Oh,
You say no more. I'll eat that. And
Derek, yeah, buddy, I'll get after that.
I was like,
That's
"Fuck yeah, I'll eat that." And so that, like, things like that, you think of it, it's like, why would you eat that after? But when he explained to me, well, he's like, well, if you're doing a lot of high level workouts and you're incorporating over like all your lifts, it's like you need that. You need, because your body's, he said, if you don't eat that stuff after your workout, not only is that not good for your muscle wise, but you're gonna feel very drained after. You need that kind of sugar to kind of get you up and running. It's like, that's why when people eat a lot of sugar and they don't work out, or they don't do it after workouts, or etc., that's why they have that crash, because the sugar is not doing anything for you.
yeah,
It's going right
yeah.
to your fat, obviously, which I could probably lose a little bit more of. But
80-20. 80-20.
exactly. Yeah. So yeah. I mean, any questions for me on there? Anything or?
No, man, it's been good. I really appreciate it. I'd like to do this again, and we can try to dive into some maybe controversial topics, aka CrossFit.
Cross. Oh no, we can talk about CrossFit right now. Yeah, I mean CrossFit. I kind of have the same feeling that you do about it, just the way you just said it. I don't know if CrossFit is totally legit. I mean, okay. I know I've seen a lot of CrossFit people out there, and I mean, they look damn strong and I mean in good shape, and I mean they got the endurance and everything. But I question like how far that goes. I really do question whether the people that you see on TV, if that's just what they want you to see, and if they're actually doing other workouts to stay in shape.
Oh, yeah. I've said that too. I'll kind of give you a preview because my thing goes forever. I could do a whole thing on this, but I'll give you a little preview.
Okay.
You got the fastest person in the world and the strongest person in the world. Mm-hmm. And they're trying to be both, and you come to the middle, and you're probably going to be the most average runner and most average strength person in the world at that point.
Yeah.
My thing for them's like, if you proclaim you're the fittest person in the world, 100% you're correct. There's a lot of great places, boxes they could call it, that promote great programming. But for the people who call out traditional people like myself who are strength enthusiasts and the strength coaches and stuff, when they proclaim that CrossFit makes you stronger than everyone else, that's where I'm like, no. You're really good at a lot of stuff. But to be fit, that's their goal, and that's what they define themselves as. And yeah, that's correct. But when it comes to trying to train to be the fastest or strongest, there's other avenues you should go to make.
Yeah, and I kind of I think I compare CrossFit to being like being a different kind of animal. You want to be the strongest, fastest, the one. But the problem with CrossFit, I find, is that you have to be strong to be, but what they're training to do is a lot of fast-paced, heavy movements. So they semi-heavy movements in a fast pace, and then that's exactly what it is. If you ever watched the CrossFit Games, that's what they do. It's all about strength and then how fast and your endurance is what you're really working on. But if you took someone that was a CrossFit person and you stuck them and you said, here, deadlift 400 pounds, and you say to a guy that's a power lifter, do 400 pounds that he can normally do, who do you think is more than likely going to get more the sets in, I would go with the power lifter because maybe they're not going to they might not outrun the CrossFit person, however, but they train specifically in that. And a CrossFit trainer too, they're just probably they're fast and they can just shoot off after doing whatever strength that they just did, and they can go and run. But what's to say that that's what they train for? And then if you stuck them in a race and with someone
Yeah.
who's a high level athlete in running, the runners got to outrun them, or not outrun them, but they're going to eventually outrun them because
Oh, they will.
they
Yeah.
train for distance running. So at the end of the day, okay, you know, great that it looks good on paper and it looks good on TV, but if their goal is to be the strongest and fastest, I'm sorry, but it's not gonna work out for you. You have to be a special kind of athlete for that to go beyond that.
Yeah. Scientifically, it's going to be very tough to be the best of both.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's a fun one. That's always a fun topic.
Yeah, and I don't mean to bash anybody that's into those things. Like, good for you. I mean,
they're damn good athletes, but I had issues with people proclaiming, you know, hey, I'm going to do CrossFit because I want to be stronger. And I'm like, no, I mean, you won't be the strongest, but you'll be strong. And then, like you said, put them in a race. They'll outdo most people, but they won't win. But yeah, they're good athletes. They're in shape. But I just have a problem when they go out of their boundaries, when they define themselves as something else.
Yeah, it certainly, yeah, I certainly don't think that CrossFit is the best for you. I mean, you got, and the thing is, when people think, well, what's really the best training? Well, is there really any best training? It's what's the best training for yourself? What is your goal? That's reality. Now, if we look at it as a scientific thing, a standard workout, a standard heavy workout, in my opinion, is the best workout you can do. If you're having a good workout where you're pushing yourself every time you go to the gym, you're pushing yourself and incorporating your lifting into your workouts, you're getting your good cardio in, you're doing your HIIT cardio, and you're bettering yourself every day at the gym. That's the best fitness that you're going to get scientifically. Now, if you are someone that just wants to, is just maybe more wants to add some size and wants to be strong, powerlifting is probably your way to go. Or if you want to just be, you just want to look strong and you want to feel strong and you want to build some muscle, yeah, probably go do CrossFit. I mean, that's something that's probably a good idea for you. Or if you just want to look good and maybe you want to just look good and you want to, lose that fat and you want to have big muscles, yeah, just incorporate a standard workout and push yourself and focus on weightlifting, because that's what's going to get you there. So I guess if we're just talking about people, you and me here, there's not really any best way to work out. It's what works for you, and I think that's what it really comes down to.
Yeah, I agree. So.
Yep. But now that we got the whole CrossFit thing out of the way there, yeah, I don't tend to like to jump on that subject because I know a lot of CrossFit people, and I don't know how they would take that.
What we said. If they don't, we can elaborate better.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, Joseph, it's been a pleasure having you on. I love to get on more subjects again some other time.
Yeah, do it, man.
Yeah, man. So we'll see what the future brings, and might have to get old Joseph back on here.
Yes, sir. It's been an honor, man. It's a pleasure, and yeah, I'm excited to rewatch this and laugh at myself.
You don't have to laugh at yourself. You did great, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
All right, you take care, sir, and stay safe and stay healthy.
All right, you too, man. See you soon.